All right. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. And once again, I didn't get the backdrops all set before I went on air, but it happens. A bit of a midday show. Had a little bit of a break here on with the trading. Today's FOMC day. If you don't know what that means Fed Chair Powell is going to come out at 2 o'clock and talk about Fed rates, interest rates, et cetera, whether or not they're taking them up and down. So figured I'd take a moment of pause, then hit you guys up with a little bit of news that came through. And I thought this was really telling. Anybody who's watched the Detroit Lions for some time has understood that most of the time free agents sign with the Lions in order to end their careers, get one big last big payday, etc. But that might be changing faster than any of us realized. We've got corroborating evidence and confirmation that Arnold actually called the Detroit Lions during the draft and asked them to trade up to go get him. Anybody watching this probably is very aware the Detroit Lions actually did that, but I thought it was a telling statement. You listen to Arnold, you listen to Giovanni Manu and other Lions players, Rakeshaw, etc., that came out of this draft, and you can see from them their immediate memories of the Detroit Lions are all good things. They nearly made the Super Bowl this year. The great run at the end of the prior season where they end Aaron Rodgers' time in Green Bay. And you guys get it. Things have changed dramatically in just a few seasons with this new regime, with MCDC, Brad Holmes, etc. And that is extending into players entering the NFL. They want to be Detroit Lions. They are loving it. And you know what? We're going to bring somebody on. Krista Robinson. She's a long-time knowledgeable Lions person. She's been in social media for a long time. And you know what? Krista, how you doing today?
Good, Dan. How are you?
Not too bad at all. So you hear this information that's, and I want to give full credit where credit's due. Originally got this information from Woodward Sports over in Detroit. It's not something anybody I knew over in the Detroit media landscape tipping me off to it, but I do want to give credit to somebody when they break the story and not, try to represent it as my own. So credit to Woodward Sports for that information. But you hear information like this, that one of the, if not the number one cornerback in this year's draft, arguably the top two, Arnold actually makes a call to the Detroit Lions, begging them to come get him. What does that mean to you as a Lions analyst?
I'd say that shows that the franchise itself has definitely progressed and different from where it was, let's say, this time last year versus where they are now. I can remember growing up how family, they were growing up in a Lions home. So my grandfather was a Lions fan. My parents were Lions fans, uncles, aunts, all Lions fans. And even growing up, there was the whole issue with, you had a bag over your head if you were a true Lions fan.
Right.
But considering that now you have, one of the top cornerbacks requesting to be a part of the franchise, that shows even with this past season that they're a top contender. They're no longer that 0-16 team that they were. So the fact that they were able to do that, I wouldn't say necessarily overnight, but in a short amount of time, and able to get one of the top picks, that's very impressive considering where they were this time last year.
You get the people who covered the Lions or followed the Lions either as fan or a beat reporter or whatever, as long as I have. Most people, they're always waiting for the rug to get pulled out from underneath us with the Detroit Lions that, hey, we look great this game, and then something's going to happen in the fourth quarter. We're going to, find a way to lose this game. But that just seems to be changing so quickly. I mean, I get it was maybe the most Lions thing ever in the NFC title game to have that second half unfortunate meltdown. But really, other than that moment, this franchise seems like it's full steam ahead going forward. And now you found out, like I said, with Arnold, that he wanted to come up and get the Lions, be a part of them. They asked them, he actually makes a phone call for them to join them. That's telling. But then you hear about other teams trying to maneuver up the draft board to get Giovanni Manu, the 6'8", 350-pound British Columbian phenom, and that he wanted to be a Detroit Lion. He was shocked to find out that apparently another team didn't get him because he was under the impression another team was trying to leapfrog potentially the Detroit Lions among other teams to acquire his services. What can you say going forward with this team? Are the Detroit Lions perhaps the league's #1 destination at this point?
I would say so. I was actually talking with a friend of mine that somewhere Matt Stafford is punching the air, considering what the franchise has done this past season. And I know I was also one of those earlier in the season, like, okay, things are going well, but I wouldn't like, okay, next game, yeah, they're probably going to lose horribly. And then we're just back on track to how the Lions typically are. And the fact that it's been such a culture shift too, not only just, they have really built a franchise where not necessarily it's just the #1 destination, but also it's like, no, it's that whole Detroit versus everybody mentality. Right. And when you've got a team that is doing that and proving that time in, time out, and they're successful in that, yeah, you're going to want to be a part of that team. No longer is it the team that, everybody tends to know, or that has the most popular quarterback or the most skilled quarterback. It's like, no, I want to go on a team where I'm going to get nitty and gritty and fight to get this win. And fighting to get that win makes that win a lot more enjoyable and a lot more appreciative, versus it's like, okay, when you think of like the Tom Brady dynasty during the Patriots, it's like, yeah, everybody wanted to go, but that was because of Tom Brady. Right. But now it's like, even though when he went to the Bucks, it's not like everybody jumped trying to get to Tampa Bay. So it's really that they've built that culture, in my opinion.
It does seem like things have changed rapidly. And you also look at the NFL, the fact that last year to start the season, I think they're grossly aware of where the Lions were viewed from a national standpoint, not just the Detroit Lions standpoint as far as fan base. The fact that they put them to start the NFL season out there, primetime Thursday night game against Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. And now you have the draft in Detroit. It just, to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, but is the NFL all in on the Detroit Lions?
I would say I would like to think that they're all in on the Lions. I think there's probably going to be probably some holdouts just because of past experiences. I think while this past season and with where they placed in the draft has helped, it's really going to be next season, this upcoming season, that's really what's going to determine how the NFL as a whole is going to look at the Lions. And I think they know that. And I think the Lions themselves know that. So I think that's why they maneuvered the way they did in the draft. So that way, come next season, if we're able to do just as well, if not better, right, then it truly cements the Lions like, yeah, we're no longer the Lions of the past. This is a new era. This is a new time. We're here. It is that whole Detroit versus everybody. And I think that has also trickled down into just the area as a whole, because even Detroit has become a lot more involved in other aspects at the city as itself because of the success, I think, due to the Lions.
We even got the governor coming out there to the draft. And, I know that normally doesn't happen for events in Detroit, but I get the NFL draft is a spectacle. It's not just your typical sporting event. One last thing before I let you go, because I don't want to do an hour-long show on this, but you hear that man who was excited to become a Detroit Lion actually thought somebody else was going to grab him. You hear Terry and Arnold on the phone begging Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, et cetera, to come up and get him, trade up to get him. And then after he was drafted, Rakestraw takes to the mic and talks to reporters, talking about he could have envisioned a better scenario than coming to the Detroit Lions, and he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. So last question for you. Is this the future for the Detroit Lions organization? Are players, free agency, or draft going to be saying, hey, I want to wear the Hallelujah blue?
I think, again, it just depends on how they do here this next season. If they're able to be just as successful, if not, then, yeah, you're going to see a lot more free agents, drafts wanting to go for the Lions and doing what it takes to be a part of that franchise. And as long as that culture within the Lions stays,
Yep.
then it's only going to get better for them as far as the ability to get the players that they want and to continue to build the team that they want and eventually become that, not necessarily relive the glory days back of the 90s, but definitely at least use that as a foundation to where they could be, from this point going forward. So it will, I definitely can see that it'll be the one, if not the number one, definitely one of the top franchises to be a part of, as long as at least you build that culture and you don't necessarily build your team around one person, but as a whole, then they've got it.
All right. Well, Chris, I do want to thank you for coming on the show and being a part of the Duke crew and all that. But hey, I want just to give a shout out. Anybody who gets an opportunity, check out her work. She does a great job. Krista Robinson, a longtime Lions fan, analyst, etc. Check out the change in the Detroit Lions. If there is any kind of breaking news later today, of course, you guys know I'll get it over to you as quick as possible. Otherwise, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.